Thank you. Just so you know, I use my phone for speaker notes because I have yet to figure out how to extend a display and have speaker notes, yada, yada, yada. But this will be fun. And again, we only have 15 minutes, so this is going to be a very high level talk, but happy to talk to you afterwards if you have any questions. So let's get started. So the talk is Securing Your Software Supply Chain, One Open Source Project at a Time. So my name is Lori LaRusso. I am the head of, can you all hear me? This is so weird. Okay, I'm the head of community at Percona. I'm a CNCF ambassador, platform engineering ambassador, CDF ambassador, OpenSSL DevRel committee, all the things ambassador, and then you can find me on LinkedIn. This is a picture of me and my family. It's my daughter Lola and my dog Luna. It's lots of L's in one household, and yes, it does get confusing. So the agenda for today, we're just going to do a brief overview of software supply chain security. We're going to talk about a couple notable attacks, and then we're going to jump right into open source supply chain security projects. So let's just do a quick refresher. So why attack the software supply chain? Well, as you can see from this report, which is courtesy of the 9th Annual State of Software Supply Chain Report, open source downloads aren't going anywhere. As you can see, they're just going up. And what does that mean in terms of software supply chain security? Well, someone has to pay for the beer, right? Free software isn't free. You've got maintainers' time and money. You've got infrastructure costs. You have the cost of going viral. Has anybody heard of Docker and how big that was? Or what about Kubernetes? So it's more like free as in speech. And with all of this freedom that we have out there, it's sort of the wild west of development, we have multiple ways to exploit the problem. So bad actors are totally taking advantage of the way we used to do business, and now we have to course correct, and that's where we have security projects coming in. So why attack the software supply chain? How many of you have a car? Okay, cool. I was a little worried. This goes down a lot easier in America than it does in Europe. But you know when you go to start your car and you hear and it doesn't go anywhere? Okay, you're like, I need an alternator or something. Like the car is dead, I cannot move. A supply chain attack isn't that in your face. It's more like you're driving down the street and your car blows up because your check oil light didn't go on because the fuse was busted and now your car is dead. So it's attacking things from very far within. So at the heart of what makes your car go, that is where actors are exploiting problems. So question, and this is an older report, so let's go over some numbers. There was a blank increase in software supply chain attacks in 2022. Does anybody know what the percentage was? Not you. Anybody? 50. Who's else? 500. Anyone else? How many? 100. How about 742%? Yeah, so according to Sonatype's State of Software Supply Chain Report, attacks are on the rise. Like, can you imagine if that was your percentage increase, like for your salary? Like, hello, like we would all be so happy. But that's how much supply chain security attacks have increased in just a couple years. So you can imagine there are tons of amazing open source evangelists out there, avengers, if you will, working to fight this problem. So let's quickly talk about two notable attacks. Does anybody know what movie this is from? Come on, it's Terminator 2, get it? Like he's going through? Okay, yeah, anyways. So Target, so in 2013, there was malware placed on a point of sale system, but it wasn't just placed on a point of sale system. The malicious actors went through their HVAC system, and so this just reminded me of like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible when he's going through. So by putting the software on their HVAC system, it then went ahead and infected the point of sale systems, which caused 40 million credit and debit cards to be stolen, an $18.5 million settlement in claims, and Target estimates that they lost around $202 million. We all know Target is doing great today, but I mean, think about it in 2013. So, and here's one that I think we all know, and this one has really made supply chain security like point and center, is the SolarWinds attack of 2020. So it was a Windows OS attack. 18,000 customers were infected, including the United States Department of Homeland Security, our National Nuclear Security Administration, our Department of Commerce. Like, none of these are real important, right, to the safety of Americans and those around the world. So because of this, what happened? Oh, and the thing is it cost an average of $12 million for companies that were affected to mitigate this, right? An average of $12 million. Well, what happened, we had a direct governmental response. So the US came out with their executive order on improving the nation's cybersecurity, and then CISA was formed. And then the EU had the Cyber Resiliency Act. And if any of you were in the plenary sessions yesterday morning, you know that this was kind of a big topic, is how do we bring policymakers and open source innovators to the table without having too much regulation to stymie innovation, but also trying to keep things under control. But that's a talk for another day, because I only have 15 minutes. So let's keep going. So who is working to solve this problem? So I'm going to talk about some foundations. We've got the CD Foundation, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, OpenSSF, and OWASP. So some of these are underneath the Linux Foundation and OWASP is not, but that doesn't mean that anyone's better than another. They just all have different ways of attacking this issue. So we're going to start with the CD Foundation. And the CDF, which is the Continuous Delivery Foundation, its mission is to grow and sustain projects that are part of the broad and growing continuous delivery ecosystem. There's CD events, which is about interoperability, Jenkins, Jenkins-X, Ortelius, Screwdriver, Spinnaker, and Tekton. But let's talk about one that I know you all probably love, Jenkins. How many of you use Jenkins? Okay, how many of you are like so in love? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, I don't know if you know this or not, but Jenkins has a plugin library, right? Which allows you to get health scores of the plugins that you use. So let's just go ahead and use security as an example. And what it shows you is it shows you the health score of security plugins that you might already be using or thinking about using. And since Snyk, and I have lots of friends that work there, is a security company, let's see why they only hit 95% and not 100. Right? You would assume a security company would hit 100 on their health score. So it breaks it down, it gives you all this information, but we're only concerned with the health score. And what you can see is that it quickly tells you that their repository configuration is where they have issues, right? Their code ownership is not set properly, there's no dependency version manager, and then there's some crazy thing right here. So you as a developer can determine, is this a plugin I still want to use? Can I mediate these two insecurities, or is that even an issue, right? So you still have to use your thinking cap to see if this is what you want to use, but at least Jenkins as a project is making it easier for you because they have this health check. Ooh. Okay, back to the presentation. Okay, so next we've got the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. Like, how many of you have heard of Kubernetes? Right? Okay, cool. But how many of you have heard of the CNCF landscape? We got some? Okay, so let's dig in, right? So the CNCF landscape. Now this is really cool. I mean, granted, it's super overwhelming, right? Because it's all of the CNCF projects and then some, right? You can submit your project to be added in there as well. But what makes the landscape amazing? Let's look at a project like Backstage. Super popular project. You click on it and you can scroll all the way down till you get to the CLO Monitor report summary. And so what is that? That is giving you a detailed analysis of the health and viability of the project. So as you scroll down, you can see, like, look the licensing, you can look at the best practices, are they following those? And then you can see the security issues that are also popping up. So again, this is another opportunity for you to use your thinking cap and say, okay, like Backstage is a great place. Like we have our platform, one place, all our engineers love it. But let's make sure that we understand that there are also some vulnerabilities or some inconsistencies of what's going on there so we can protect ourselves. All right, cool. Everybody's with me. I like this. All right, let's keep going. Back to the presentation. Okay. So next up is OpenSSF. So OpenSSF was literally born out of the security issues and the EU and USA's, response to SolarWinds. And so it kind of started off a little bit like a policy arm. Nobody knew exactly what they were going to do. But then things changed and they got their first project donated, which was SALSA. And so if you don't know what SALSA is, it is the, I don't want to say it wrong. Here we go. The supply chain levels for software artifacts. And so as you see all of the letters here, those are different areas in which your supply chain can get attacked, right? And so there's different levels of SALSA that you can be SALSA certified, and you can go to the SALSA website, and it'll show you how you can mitigate these responses, and then you can be certified level 1, level 2, level 3. But the basic is like, you need to know where you're vulnerable, and this is helping to identify those issues. But OpenSSF has grown since then, and now they have a bunch of projects, which is super exciting. So when we go to their projects page, you can see that they're all rated differently, right? Either they're graduated, incubated, sandbox, or to be determined. They're not sure where they sit. But one of the things that I think is really interesting, and it's something that I brought to my company, Percona, was the best practices badge. And so as a company that makes open source databases, we should make sure all of the projects that we have on our repos are following along with the best practices from OpenSSF, right? So you can go ahead and go to their website, and then you can go ahead, honestly, this page is terrible, so somebody please tell these maintainers to fix this. You can go to the projects page, and you can type in what you're looking for, and I'm going to look at Postgres, and you'll see why in a minute. And you can then see Postgres, which is a database, where it ranks. And right now, it is 94% to where it needs to be. And then you can click on that and see what that means. So you can scroll down and see where Postgres as a database is winning. And again, areas in which they may be falling behind a bit, or areas, again, that you should just be aware of when you're using this database that could need a little bit more protection on your part. So making sure that you, again, are using that thinking cap and looking at the project from a whole, not just this is the database we really like because it's easy. It's like, okay, this is a database we like because it's easy, but also let's make sure that we have these things in place so that when we hit this idea of no keys are generated, blah, 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 we're not in trouble. And so I'm going to talk about Postgres again in a minute. Okay, so I know I talk fast, guys, but it's like 15 minutes, and I just want to give you as much as I can. Beck said she was going to totally kill me on time, so I'm trying to make sure I agree with the constraints of 15 minutes. All right, so OWASP. Now, I've talked about 3 Linux Foundation projects, but OWASP is external. So they are, their vision is that they want no more insecure software. And their mission is to be the global open community that powers secure software through education, tools, and collaboration. Now, if you haven't noticed, a bunch of other foundations are working in the same realm. So in my hill I'm going to die on, it would be nice if people were talking to each other a little bit more. But then you have people like me that are trying to bridge the gap on where all these holes exist so that you can be as informed as possible. So what does OWASP have? Well, SBOMs. Does everybody know what an SBOM is? Software bill of material. Okay, so when the U.S. executive order came out and they said everybody needs an SBOM, everybody was like, well, what the hell does that mean? What am I going to do with this? How do I even generate one? Why do I care? Well, guess what? OWASP cares, and you can go to their Cyclone DX Tool Center. And in this, you can see all of the tools to generate different levels of SBOMs, to diagnose different levels of SBOMs, to show you what your SBOM is, and yada, yada, yada. I mean, it is insane. They have 247 tools listed to help you with SBOMs, to make sure that you're in some sort of compliance, that you're seeing how things are being built, that you can answer that question, do I have an SBOM? How do I make it? What does it mean? So I think this is absolutely crazy and cool. And again, they make it a little bit better for you so you can kind of see, okay, what are the open source SBOM generators that are out there? Which ones are proprietary that I'm going to be willing to spend the money on, right? And this is an open source conference, licensing, money, all that kind of stuff is an issue. But you can compare, you can contrast, and they're making it easy. And as they say in Q1, they're going to make it even simpler for you to use this tool. So I think this is super awesome and amazing, and it's just one of the many projects that OWASP has. I think there's 10,000 plus people in OWASP, 250 plus projects. I mean, it's nuts. Okay, back to the presentation. But I work for a database company, right? So what about the data? And like I did mention Postgres, and I'm wearing this awesome Postgres t-shirt that says, what is it? Dance like nobody's watching, but encrypt like everyone is, okay? And so what does that mean? That means, let's go back here, slideshow, so you can see it. So TDE, Transparent Data Encryption. It's a security technology used to encrypt data at rest, meaning that the data stored in database files on disk are secure, and that even if someone gains physical access to the storage media, they can't read the data without proper encryption keys. So this is entirely managed and controlled by a database. It's transparent, so you don't have, like, the DBAs don't have to do anything. But why is this important? Well, it's an added layer of security for your data so that people can't access your stuff, right? I think that's important. How many credit ratings have you gotten that said, or emails that said, your data's been leaked, but we're going to put you on a credit rating report so that you can see when your stuff's stolen, but can't do anything about it proactively? Awesome. So this is our proactive approach to secure your data at rest. And we're building an extension because going within the community guidelines, instead of forking and creating our own version of Postgres, we wanted this to be available to everyone. And when we talk about like licensings and fees, there are vendors out there that you can get TDE added in, but you're going to pay for it. So we would like to make it free for all so that the entire Postgres community has TDE and has transparent data encryption at the level of out of the box. So we're working within the community standards. That's why it's an extension, and it's like follows all of the guidelines. And it's really cool the way the team has worked within the community to try and do this. So if you have any questions and you're really interested in Postgres, or you're a security person and want to test it out, want to ask more questions about how the tool is being built and how we do all of our testing or whatever, feel free to contact my little man there, Jan. He is the PM. This is his slide, by the way, not mine. I did not make it, but it is him. So anyways, if that's something that interests you, go ahead and do that. So all of this is to say that, as we saw, supply chain security attacks are on the rise. They are not going anywhere. But what is really awesome is that we have these Avengers, if you will, in a bunch of different foundations that are working to secure the software supply chain. So whether you're in the continuous delivery space, the cloud native space, you just want security information overall, I highly recommend that you look at the projects that I showed you, or go to the CDF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, OpenSF, OWASP website, type in what you're looking for, and then use the knowledge of other people from the open source community to protect yourself. And with that, I'm good. So please feel free to link with me on LinkedIn if you'd like, and thank you very much.